Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another Lockdown Live. Right, so this afternoon I've got a really special guest. I'm going to be chatting to Marciel Hopkins. Marciel is a well-renowned South African international model, and not just any model, she's a curve model as well. And but I don't want to talk about that really today with her. If the topic comes up, it comes up, but we're going to chat a little bit about a couple of other things. So I think it's going to be quite cool. And she's also the new presenter for Boer Soek 'n Vrou. That's quite a big achievement for Marciel. And if I can, I will just maybe touch on that, but again, not in the normal one that I would like to talk about. So, right, so let's see if we can get Marciel on here in a second. The chat has been doing really well. I've got some nice feedback from a couple of people, and yeah, I'm trying to schedule some interesting people to chat to. Hopefully, coming up the rest of this week, I've got some interesting people. Right, so let's see. Here's Marciel. Hallo. Goeie jou.
Kan jy my hoor?
Hoor jou. Ek hoor.
Yay, there we go.
Hoe gaan dit?
Goed. En jy, pa van 3, ek het so half nie geweet van die 3de swangerskap tot hier aan die einde nie.
Ek het ook nie geweet het tot Karen vir my gesê het.
Maar ek het verbeel my, ek het nog een keer met jou gesels te sê vir my, nee, klaar, definitief net 2 kinders, en ek was soos, okay, nee, cool, en iewers hier teen die einde te sien, ek nee, wag, hier is baba nommer 3 op pad.
Ja, dit was 'n bietjie van 'n skrik geweest. Onbekend, sy is hierso, sy moet groot kom en ons is lief vir haar, so ja, wat kan ons doen?
Kan jy glo, pa van 3 dogtertjies?
Ja, ons moet maar, hulle moet maar ryk mans kry eendag.
Ja, is ons aan? Is ons go?
Live.
Okay, great. Okay, cool. Awesome.
Gaan ons Engels praat verder?
Yes, we can do that. Perfect.
Cool. Right. So, Marciel, thank you for joining me with this. And I try to ask people, and you're a very busy lady.
Not now.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure you get a lot of these requests. Has people been asking you to come on live with them?
No, I've just had a lot of requests of people asking me to post my home workout videos, which puts a lot of pressure on me. Because my boyfriend and I kind of improvise every morning, and we make turns with who's going to work out the workout. And then people are asking me to post what I'm eating every day, and I'm like, guys, like it's so natural and intuitive what we want to eat. So that's the only pressure I'm experiencing at the moment.
That's not a bad thing. So you can.
No, I mean, I've posted the work, like I've been posting some of the workout videos, and the feedback I got was very good. And I think it's just people want inspiration, we want ideas, we get bored with our own little workout routine. So if I can inspire and help 5 people to be more active during this time, then it's wonderful. But I am not so confident to post what I'm eating every day. I think then it becomes a bit of personal intrusion for me. So there I can give some advice in terms of what's healthy snacking, what's not. But then I think we all know how to snack healthily or not. You just kind of sometimes want someone to kind of police you and say, just a reminder, you should not do this or that or that. But in this time, I think we should be kind to ourselves and allow ourselves the extra snack or the extra piece of chocolate. It's the only way we're going to get through this, by surviving and eating our way through it. And then afterwards, we can go back to gym and being more disciplined, I think.
Are you recording your workouts to repurpose them later on?
I post them. So I did one super informal one morning, and then people said, please, can you save it? Please, can you save it? So I put it on my Instagram story highlight. So if people wanted to go check it out. And we took a break over the weekend, but I'll be posting in the week again, probably tomorrow and what's today? Tuesday, Thursday. I lose track of the days of the week. Yeah. Just a interesting fact. I've been in lockdown since basically 15 March. So I arrived back from New York on Sunday, 15 March. And on that same night, the president announced the first set of rules that they put out, which was the social distancing and less than, I think it was 100 people. But I was kind of forced into self-isolation already. So my lockdown total at this moment, if it's not extended, is going to be 32 days. So I've been in this a long time. So I think I'm a few, because they say it's like a whole process of grief and, you know, it's first denial and anger and all these interesting steps you go through. I think I'm like over all of those things. So I'm just kind of enjoying it at this point in time, where I think some people are still going through the anger and the frustration part now, which I was there last week. Yeah, so now I'm just kind of taking it in my stride.
Because normally now you would have been like super busy all over the place. So it's with this impacts every single business on every single level ever out there. Yeah. Karen went to the doctor for a checkup now this morning, and even he's impacted. He's a doctor, but he can't see any new patients. He can only service existing girls that was pregnant before this started. He can't take on any new patients at this stage because no elective surgery is allowed. And even if I had to, she drove through on her own this morning. If I had to go with, I had to wait in the car. I was not allowed to go into the hospitals. Only one person. So, and friends of ours, her brother had their first baby now last week. He was not, because that was a Dewald Medical Clinic and there was already active corona cases there. The dad was not allowed to be in the hospital at all. She had to give birth on her own, to stay there the whole time.
Terrible. It's terrible. And how would they go about if, I mean, people fall pregnant now, which I believe they will. But there's this funny joke that goes around that all people that fall pregnant now, it will be firstborns. It will not be people with kids that have kids already. But I mean, how would that be if lockdown would be extended? I mean, they would have to go to gynecologist at some point. And if people can't take new patients, I mean, that's a very tricky situation.
Yeah, normally I think the first couple of weeks up until I think the 13-week, until you need to do your 13-week scans and everything, you can do everything from home. They can, because it's mostly blood tests that gets done, and the scan that the doctor does is he basically just check if there's heartbeat, if there's one or if there's two, those kind of things. So they will probably get a paper sent to Path Care where they can go and just get the blood work done.
Sure.
I presume that's what they will have to do, and as soon as everything's lifted, then they should be able to come in again.
No, I had a conversation with a friend from the UK, and they only announced it now, but they're 3 months pregnant. And I was just, it was one of those days, it was last week, so I was very frustrated and angry, and you feel like you want to project anger on other people and as if it's their fault. And I had this conversation with her, and her telling me she's pregnant and the stress that they've been going through, because obviously the first 3 months is a very it's a tricky time. Like it's when, you know, it's kind of the make or break, and just how stressful it was for them to not go out. And I mean, in the UK, it's more difficult. People live in apartment blocks, so it's not, you need to get in the lift, you need to press buttons, you need to open doors. Like there's just so many extra points of contact. But all is good. The baby is healthy. Apparently the baby is super relaxed because they call it a quarantine baby now. And it was such an important thing for me to talk to someone else, because it just helped me focus on someone else's stress and what they've been going through, because we can become quite self-consumed with our own frustration and my projects that's not working out and my work that's being put on hold. And then if you talk to other people, you kind of realize it's okay. I mean, she's pregnant. She's going through this very stressful time. I think it's such a beautiful time in your life to be pregnant, and they can't even do a gender reveal. And she's one of those people where she would love to celebrate a gender reveal, and they can't do it now. So I just feel so sorry for her. But I mean, hopefully they can have a big gender reveal with the second baby then.
Yeah, but it's like Emily's birthday. Emily's birthday is on the 10th of May. Mine is on the 25th of April now, in 2 weeks' time. And if we get extended by anything, I probably won't be able to have any friends over for mine. I'll have to. And Emily has got this whole big, she wants a color run party. So,
oh, shame.
But she understands everything. So we said to her, right, if push comes to shove and we're not allowed to have parties or get-togethers or anything yet, which it's probably going to be like that, then we'll do a birthday party later the year.
Yes. Oh, shame. They're so little, and then birthday parties are really big. So I can assume it's very disappointing for her.
Yeah, normally it is. But yeah, Renee just talks about the coronavirus.
It must be interesting to see how a little child understands this and how they kind of make sense of it. I don't know, how do you find it? How does your kids make sense of this situation?
Look, I've always, with whatever we discuss with them, I tell them the truth. I'm not gonna joke around or tell them a lie about something that's not true, because one day they will remember. Because Emily is 7 now, she will remember that kind of stuff. So I say to them, it's a dangerous thing. If like Opa can't come visit, he's got to stay at home because he's had a heart attack before. And I say to him, he can die because if he gets this. So we need to be careful. They can't go play. Well, they can play outside. I've got a big yard, but they can't walk down to the shop anymore, or any of those kind of things. And I think they understand it to a point. Emily is Renee is 4, so she doesn't care what happens.
She's like, my parents are home all the time. Yay.
Yeah. They get on our nerves, I can tell you that. Well, at least once a day they separate it into their 2 rooms, and they keep themselves busy for however long we decide, and then they're fine again for like 2 or 3 hours, and then we've got to intervene and figure something else again. But
my only responsibility is my cats. And I must say, in a time like this, it's actually great to have just somewhere that's kind of like keeping you busy and keeping your attention, like they keep you busy in another way, to focus on them and their little silly stuff. And I think they absolutely love it for us to be home, because I mean, I was gone for a month and Andre works from 8 to 5. So they were only used to seeing people in the morning and late afternoon. So they're super busy, but I think it's going to be a big change for them when we suddenly start working again, which I hope is soon. But I mean, let's see. I think the biggest thing for people, I think the biggest challenge at this point is not, I mean, of course, the virus and getting the vaccine and figuring it out, but I think it's the uncertainty for everyone, not knowing how long this is going to still go on. I think last week I spoke to my mom and I said, I mean, if I had to stay positive for another 2 weeks and we do the 21 days and I do the 32 days, it's totally fine. I can keep myself like amped and I'll stay positive. But the whole thing about or around, well, we don't know how long still, that's where the whole demotivation or like being a bit demoralized comes in. But let's see. I mean, I'm staying positive. The thing is just what's very prominent to me is in a country like South Africa, if we keep on extending this lockdown, so many people are not going to have food or money, and there's going to be more people dying of hunger than from coronavirus. So there's so many things that we need to look at. And I mean, I'm super grateful that I'm not in one of those high positions to make these difficult decisions, because it's kind of bietjie van die een en dan bietjie van die ander. So, I mean, in no way it's an easy decision. And I have great respect for the president for the measures he has put in place up until this point. And I think he's going through a hell of a time to make decisions at this point.
Yeah, and it's also, we can be glad that we haven't got Zuma still at the lead.
That's an interesting topic.
The questions I see, just how is this whole thing impacting your income or your business? Let me put it that way, because you like running your own little thing.
So I filed for my American work visa last year, which costs, and I'm honest about it because I want people to know, my work visa cost me 45,000 Rand. And then you get it for 3 years, but it's a very long process to apply for this. So the whole visa process took me 10 months. So it was my dream to go to America and go live the model dream there. I always said before I have babies one day, it's kind of on my bucket list. So I filed for that in August, and 2 months later, I was chosen as the new presenter of Boerlike Vrou. So I had to keep it a secret for very long. So it was quite an interesting time for me going, wow, 2 of my biggest dreams came true. And with the news, or like with the shoot schedule of Boerlike Vrou, I only had a 2-month gap to go to New York. So paid the plane ticket to go. I was in New York for a month. It was amazing. Things were just starting to pick up, like you start going to castings, and boom, the coronavirus kind of hit. And people sent me messages and asked, like, did you have like inside info about, because I arrived back on the 15th of March. And I just said, no, sorry.
How are you supposed to get inside info?
No, I don't know. But it was kind of, my timing was really good in terms of coming back. And I just said, no, for me, realistically spoken, I thought New York would go in lockdown within the next 2 weeks. So I'm quite surprised that South Africa went into lockdown and not New York. And in that sense, I think South Africa is further ahead, because New York it's terrible what's going on there. And people are still not in lockdown. I had a conversation with a friend last night. They still can do whatever they want to. If they wanted to walk around and do what they want, they could. So, I mean, I had to come back a month earlier. I had to pay for all those ticket changes. Also, it's unrealistic for a model to work within the first month. You at least need to stay there for 2 or 3 months. So there wasn't really time for me to work. So the whole idea around paying 45,000 Rand for a visa is to make it back. So I didn't have that opportunity. And then coming back, obviously wanting to start with Boerlike Vrou, and I don't want to go into too much detail around the shooting schedules, but obviously that is forced on pause at the moment. So, I mean, it's up to when it's legal again for us to shoot until we can start, which we are planning ahead to kind of like plan around what we think is going to happen, but that's also super uncertain. So I think in a time like this, for freelancers, I just once again realized how important it is to have different income streams. So luckily, I still write a blog once a month that I get paid for. I still see my coaching clients that I get paid for. I still have social media collaborations that I get paid for. I mean, I'm not going to become rich of it, but at this point, it's at least just covering my basic costs per month. But in terms of modeling and in terms of acting and Boerlike Vrou presenting, that's all on a complete still staande. So I had a long conversation with my director, and she said models are freaking out because clients in modeling can pay, they have 90 days to pay.
Yes.
So if I do a job today, I mean, I've signed a contract that I can only get paid in 3 months. So obviously a lot of the recent jobs that happened was now in January, February, and models are asking for advance. You can do that. Usually you can ask for money to be advanced and you pay like a little bit of just a premium. Yeah. So all of the models were freaking out and they were asking for advances, and the agency had to at some point say, we can't do this, otherwise we don't have a cash flow. So I think it's a very hard time for freelancers, especially if you're used to living on the money that you kind of earn per month. And
Yes.
I think it's a big realization for people to always have saving money and not to live above your means. Because she said she sat with a lot of models in the past going, you can't wear all these designer clothes and eat at all these expensive restaurants, but it's all for the gram and it's all for the image. And I think a lot of people are going to have a lekker skrik from this. And it's not, dis nie iets wat ek vir enigiemand wens nie. I don't wish upon it on anyone. I just think a lot of people are going to be way more aware when it comes to working with their money.
Yeah, because I've looked at some of these, and the Instagram models and guys and girls, and there's some of these people, I think I'm sure they don't even own a plate or a cup at home because they never eat at home. It's always, it's not like going to a coffee shop for a quick coffee. It's like a proper sit down 5-course, well plated food and everything, and those things are not cheap. So
no.
And I'm pretty sure, and you should be able to know this, none of that, or very few of that, will be sponsored by the restaurants or the places that you go to. It will be, somebody will have to pay for it.
Well, even if you go to a restaurant and they do sponsor you the food, you're still not earning an income from it. So yes, okay, you're getting a free meal, but at the end of the month, how are you going to pay your rent? So it's all, once again, for the image of it. Like, look, I'm eating at this restaurant, but I'm sometimes just curious how they pay for the actual real, like a car and petrol and those kind of things. So I think a lot of it is make believe. And now reality is going to hit hard, unfortunately. Like I said, it's not something I wish upon anyone. I just think people are going to be more aware of budgeting.
Yeah. So when you went to New York, did you go via your current agency, or did you go as a freelance basis, as like a free agent kind of thing, and just approach other agencies on that side?
So it's an interesting question in terms of girls that want to go into modeling. You always have a mother agent. So mine is in Cape Town, Ice Genetics. So they always stay my main point of management. And they then place girls at other international agencies. So, because you always need to have a mother agent. So New York was always part of the dream. And I kind of said at some point in the next 2-3 years, I'm going to save up enough money and go on my own. And then I was really lucky. End of 2018, a German client flew me to LA, and we did a beautiful road trip story from LA to Las Vegas. And I had 4 days before I had to be back in Cape Town for another shoot. And I just decided it's now or never. And I flew to New York. I literally just paid for the ticket from Las Vegas to New York, and I stayed there with a friend, and I went to go see agencies there, which Ice Genetics then put up the meetings for me. And then 2 of the agencies wanted to sign me, and I decided on one, because you of course can only have one agency in a city. You can't have 5 agencies in New York City. You could have a different one in LA, because then they're kind of not competing with one another. So then I signed with them, and that's when we started the visa process, which was in January. We kind of started. So it was 10 months. I only got the visa end of October. So it was a super long process, but now I have it for 3 years. So as soon as I have a gap again and all is back to normal, I know people say it's not going to go back to normal. So I don't know what the correct word is then, but I will definitely go back to New York. I loved it. And I definitely did not have enough time to leave a footprint there or really see enough clients. So I was there with an agency, which is frustrating because I'm a hustler. Like, I would love to do more things and, earn more money in creative ways. But with this specific visa, I'm only allowed to work through state model management, which is interesting because if you look at a green card, there's way more, like you can do anything. And I spoke to a lawyer there, which was quite interesting, that a green card would be an option if I build my CV in South Africa, a stronger CV. But I think at this point, only time will tell.
Yeah, but okay. So if you can get a green card, are you guys looking at moving that way?
Ooh, touchy subject. Only time will tell. That's all I'm saying. So we'll see. I mean, it's all very romantic to move to another city and kind of immigrate, but you must have a sense of financial stability and know that at least you are going to earn some money on the other side, because it's expensive. Oh my goodness, it was so expensive. For me, I will give up a meal, but I'm a coffee snob. Like I need my cappuccino in the morning. So a normal cappuccino, and I mean like a small one, is 85 Rand straight. That's what you pay for it. And now, I mean, if I would have bought one now with the whole dollar-rand exchange, it would have been probably over 100 Rand for a coffee. So you need to be sure that you're going to earn money if you want to spend money in a city like New York. I always thought London was expensive. I mean, I've been traveling to London for the last 4 years, but New York is on another level for me. At some point, you are forced to stop converting. Otherwise, you will drive yourself mad.
Okay, so right, so let's get on to one of the other questions I want to ask you. And there's a lot of girls, mostly girls and some guys out there that's got this dream of becoming a model one day, for whatever it may be. What is the worst thing about being a model?
I think there's two sides to it. So if we look at the freelancing aspect of it, it's nerve-wracking very often, because first of all, I mean, if you want to start modeling, you're going to have to pay at least around 4 to 5 grand to have a proper test done to just get you on the books of an agency. So there's already an expense that you have. And then, I mean, there's not a lot of girls in South Africa that can do modeling as a full-time job because it's so uncertain. I mean, 1 month you might work very well and you make good money, but then there can be 4 or 5 months that you don't work at all, especially in winter time. It's not a very lucrative market. During summer, there's a lot of work because of the European clients, I mean, American clients coming in. So I would say that's the worst thing of modeling, that you can't ever have a set pay slip. And that becomes complicated when you want to buy a house one day. Because you can show the bank all your pay slips and go, this is the money I have. I still got way less money than my boyfriend because he has an 8-to-5 job. So it's an interesting thing to never earn a set salary. And then the flips, or the other side of it that's not always wonderful, is the self-esteem issues that pops up. Because the only way to get work is to go to castings. And I mean, castings can be from 10 girls to, I've been to castings where there's 100 girls sitting in the room with you, and they're all beautiful and stunning, and you sit there asking yourself, how am I even good enough to cast for this job? How am I even going to compete with all these other girls? So you must be really rock solid in that sense, to not build your identity on how many jobs I'm getting or how much clients like me, which is hard. I mean, it's not, I sometimes feel very bad about myself coming home from a casting. But that's why it's so important as a model, that I believe that you have different things that keeps you busy and different streams of income, to not have all your eggs in one basket, because then it's easier to kind of just flick it off your shoulder, go, okay, I didn't get that job, maybe the next one, but there's also other things that I can focus on. I think it's a very scary space to only be a model and base your whole life on that. Because if it's a bad season for you, not just financially, but also self-esteem wise, you're going to be in a very dark place.
Yeah, and also I think they need to work on confidence and try to be unique, because if you just look like the next blonde girl sitting also at the casting, what's going to make you stand out from them? The people need to be focusing on being themselves. I know you've always had your way of doing it, made you unique. So, and I think that's what got you where you are today. You built a brand around your uniqueness and your personality, is where the other girls are all looking at other people's Instagrams and they want to be the same and look the same and all this kind of things. So then they disappear in a crowd.
Yeah. It's hard because the thing is, you never know what they want. And that's also the thing about you talking about being unique, is to stick to that, because not all clients are going to like that. But that's the thing, like sometimes you walk in, you look the best you can ever, like your hair is beautiful, your skin, everything. And then in the end, and that's the tricky thing, you don't very, very small amounts of time you actually get feedback. So you don't get the job and you go, oh my goodness, what's wrong with me? And in the end, they actually just wanted a blonde girl. It was just the brief went out and the casting director said, you know what, in the end, the male lead was dark haired, so we want a blonde to contrast it out. You never know. And that's what's tricky, but that's where girls should not stop kind of still embracing the uniqueness, because eventually a casting director is going to go, oh, I like that. I like what she's bringing to the table. But we must also be realistic. There's so many girls that want to be models. And I always say to girls, give it a season, try your best, but there's this whole romantic thing about artists living out of their cars and, like suffering for art. I'm so not for that. I'm all about women empowerment and women earning their own money and building a life for themselves. So give it a go. But if you see at some point, it's not happening for you, maybe try something else. Not maybe, do try something else.
Yeah, and I think you need to grow a thick skin very quickly with a lot of things. It's the same. It's the same for us as photographers, is that we get a lot of people requesting wedding packages and shoots and everything, and you send it to them. And if you're going to lay awake at night worrying about, is Sunny Bester from Swellendam, when is she going to reply to my email? It's not going to. You're not going to work out with this. You need to grow a thick skin, and if they do reply, which doesn't happen often, but they say we found somebody else that fits more in our budget, or that we like to start, and all you do is just say, thanks for getting back to me. I'm sure you're going to have a fantastic shoot with them.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
So if you leave on that good foot, if something goes wrong or whatever the story is, they might come back to you and say, right, we really liked you, or this happened, but you were our second option. Then you can fit it. But I think if you're gonna sit around and worry about what people, why you didn't get the job, you're gonna fall behind. Then you need to pull your finger out your butt and make sure that you work harder to get the next one. And also, and you'll know, you need to get one job. And that one job will put you on the map for the next one.
I actually had a coaching session with a client yesterday, and we spoke about, so just quickly going back to upcoming models and kind of, what's the worst of modeling, but also just realizing that as you start off as a model, there's often a lot of stuff that you're going to have to do for free, because we kind of like build up until one point. And then, of course, you get to a point where you go, okay, this is my worth now. I'm not going to work for less than this. But there's also going to be a lot of, sacrifices you need to make in the beginning. But the biggest thing there, like you said now, is about building contacts. So if a photographer then shot with you and they see the pictures, then in 3 months' time, they go, okay, we really like that girl, so maybe we should book her. So like you said now, also always being nice and polite, but also sometimes being willing to do something for free. So in the end, that you can build that contact list. And it's happened so often where I remember I sat in a chair once with a makeup artist, and we just had a lovely conversation. I love listening. I love asking. And without me knowing, within the 2 years since I saw her last, she built herself up to be like editor of a magazine. And 2 years later, we haven't spoken for that whole 2 years. She contacted me and said, can we shoot you for a cover? So it's just about like the human interaction and not sitting in the chair and being on your phone all the time and being I think it's super rude to not be interested in people. I mean, you read your crowd. Sometimes you get people and you see, okay, they do not want to engage, and that's fine. But I think it's such a beautiful opportunity to build a connection with someone, not ever to get something from it, just to get to know someone, have an interesting contact, someone because often in this industry, you get to do with them again, or you'll meet them again somewhere on a set. And then at least you've built a relationship with them.
But that's my whole point behind these conversations that I'm doing. I'm trying to do it with a whole bunch of different people from different walks of life. And it's not about building more followers for me. It's about just having a good conversation about interesting stuff. And if somebody can make a connection with you or with me via this or this platform that I'm trying to create, then it's great. Then I'm happy. One of the guys I spoke to earlier, Raymond Whittaker, he does camera repairs and he works for a lot of the photographers in Cape Town. And I chat to him and he said to me, he was worried about what is he going to talk about for an hour. And when we said goodbye, it was just over an hour and we could talk. And he sent me a WhatsApp yesterday from a guy in Joburg who watched the thing, asking him about advice for his camera and that's all I needed to.
Great. Well, thank you for creating platforms like this. It's amazing. I'm not always so tech savvy, but something that I also just felt on my heart at this point was I had a few conversations on my Instagram around coaching. I'm also very realistic about the fact that people don't have money to spend on luxuries at this point, which coaching, you could see it as a luxury. And I just decided there's a few people that I want to coach pro bono that really replied, because it was personal conversations I had with some of my followers then. And if I felt like this was really something this person was struggling with, I started coaching pro bono. And for me, instead of sitting here and kind of having to keep myself busy, I just felt, why can't I be, I can connect with someone, I can maybe change make a switch for them. And that's the feedback that I've been getting. And for me, it's been great. Just to make a little change or activate someone's brain and just to give them some inspiration or hope again. So it's great that there's initiatives to just get people connected.
Yeah, but the nice thing about that is, again, you don't necessarily need to say on your feed and everything that you're doing this for free. The free arrangement is between the two of you, and if that person gets something positive out of this, they could go to their friends or their boss. Or, you need to speak to Marciel, but charge you 1,500 Rand for the session. Then that pro bono thing didn't go to waste. Well, that's the way I see it. I offer free work with a lot of clients, but I will choose the clients that I do free work with, because you need to do that, because if you're going to do, and that's why I've also said this year, I'm not going to sponsor any family shoots for any school or fundraising thing or and I used to do that every year, but I've never ever in the 10 years that I'm doing this had one return client come in from that.
Sure.
I would rather do free work for a company or corporate company that I know I could get work for over the next 6 months. While we're working with the client already, and he says to me, I need this to be done quickly, and I won't charge him for it because I know I'm getting other work from there again. But that's my stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one session, and I made it very specific. I'll give you one session for free, and if you feel that that's something that you benefit from, you can always come back in future. But for me, often giving is also important to the person giving. So for me, it kind of keeps me stimulated. And like any skill we have, it's good to kind of keep yourself skill fit. So that's also important for me at this point. I wanted to say something about something you said now. It will probably come back to me.
I also wanted to ask you something, but to get back to the modeling thing and all that kind of stuff, you've worked with, well, we've done some shoots together, and a lot of it was for fun. But working with other photographers, on jobs, paying jobs. What advice can, or I wouldn't say advice, what's the good about it? What's the bad about it? What have you learned is about the same over all the boards kind of thing? If you understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. I think you must be very aware, no, let me rephrase that. People skills are very important when it comes to being a model, because I mean, during season, I would shoot 4 or 5 times a week, and every day you get on set, it's a completely different team. So I work with German clients most of the time, but like today I've shot with this team, I've built a relationship, we have a cool chemistry, and like it's after an hour or two it flows, and then the next day you have to start all over again, because often you don't know any person on set. It's amazing if you do start recognizing people, and like I said, that you've worked with before. But I think be very aware to be observant as a model, to not come in there ever being the diva and wanting things your way, because this is a pay job. I mean, if I always say, if you want me to walk around in a swartzak and that's what you pay me for, then that's part of my job. I mean, there's obviously a line in terms of being appropriate and inappropriate. But sometimes you wear clothes that you don't like. I remember I shot with a model once, and she was very new, and they put glasses on her. And I was shocked. I was so shocked. And she just blatantly said, I don't like glasses. I don't look good with glasses. And the client just turned around and said, I don't care. And that was just, and it was kind of like, since in Afrikaans, you would say bekstel. So like, that's the rule. This is your job. Do your job. So to just be aware of all the people on set, and to very quickly sense, I spoke about it earlier, people's, let's call it vibe. That's the casual word. Some photographers are super jokey and chatty, and they make jokes, and others are super serious and perfectionists. So you kind of just need to be flexible and work around that. So if someone's chatty, be chatty. But if you see someone stressed and there's a time limit, or the weather isn't playing along, don't be like irritating and chatting in someone's ear all the time when they're trying to get a shot or trying to get their lighting right. And then also just being aware and listening as a model. So, I mean, if they told you by the 4th time, please stop touching your hair, stop putting your hand in your hair, you should have picked that up by the 1st time. So ask, I would say also ask for direction, and often you sit. So I remember recently I shot in a pool. So now I'm on a lilo in the pool. I can't really move. And obviously after a few shots, and I mean, German teams are big. So there's a creative this and a creative that and a this. So 5 or 6 people are standing behind the, what do you call it? Like a monitor where they can see the pictures.
Yes.
And now you see different facial expressions coming out there, and you start panicking. So I'm stuck on the lilo. I can't see the pictures. I don't know, what's going on. So instead of sitting there panicking because now, for example, you see they're not happy, ask. Just say, hi, is there anything I can change? Are you not happy with this? And often, I promise, 90% of the time, it's not the model. It's they don't like the color of the water, or they don't like that angle, or they want this sunglasses, not those. And then immediately you are also calm and okay, I'm not doing anything wrong, or if they give you feedback. So that also helps a team to work with, I think teams remember that, going, oh, that was an easy girl to work with. She could take direction quickly. She can, she understands angles and things. So that would be my advice with different photographers. I've worked with wonderful ones. I've worked with very, very difficult ones. I think it comes down to, like I said, taking the direction and then knowing when to talk and when to zip it.
But that advice goes through the board with any kind of thing in this space that you and I are doing. I do a lot of work with farmers and in the agricultural sector at the moment, and it's exactly the same. And even when I'm working with people, I'd say to them, listen, I'm here as an extra pair of hands. If you want me to help you carry this or light the fire or whatever you need me to, I'm here as an extra pair of hands. And that also puts them at ease that I'm not just here to get the money that I'm being paid for. I'm here to offer value to them. And apart from just the photos or the videos, whatever I do for them afterwards.
And I mean, basic things for models as well, being on time, always having clean hair, clean nails, making sure your skin is looked after. I've heard horror stories of how girls arrive on set. They haven't washed their hair in 3 days. They're still hung over from the previous night. It's like this where they'll cut you and they'll never book you again. So also just the basic things of being professional. I mean, you would know as well, like people must, I mean, if the client is an hour late, it's their problem. You're still being paid for it, but you can't be an hour late. That's like a no-go.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely crazy. So how many people stops you in the street at the moment and say, hello, Marciel?
Well, I left just after the Boerse Vrou announcement. I left 4 days later to New York, and I came back straight into lockdown. So I haven't really seen people, to be honest.
But even Boerse Vrou, because I know you've got quite a big local following on your social media. So yeah, just out of curiosity.
So we live in the southern suburbs, which is a bit more English, and I don't know, people are a bit more aloof, if I'm allowed to say it, where I find more in the northern suburbs, or if I'm in small towns, that people would just come up and say hi, like especially if I'm in Tiger Valley or in Pall Mall, but it's also my hometown, Paul. Then people would come say hi, or they would ask maybe for a picture. But I mean, it's not overwhelming ever to me. I mean, I think Miss South Africa was very good preparation for dealing with public attention and people kind of finding you inspiring. But people have warned me with Boerse Vrou, I think if it starts airing, because now, you know, I've been introduced and I'm still the new face, so people haven't gotten to know me really, or how I'll presenting, or they don't know about my personality. So I think as soon as that starts airing, there might be a bit more public attention, but that's okay. That's part of the job. And I mean, I love people. I love meeting people. So that's something that excites me.
So obviously you knew about Boerse Vrou for a while, and 2 years ago, you said to me that you were in the final for Boerse Vrou when Leah was announced. I remember that.
Yes.
You said that you're not going to do it right now because you want to focus a bit more on your modeling and all that kind of stuff. So I presume that they've been chatting to you for a long time.
No, so I auditioned 2 years ago and I made it to the final round. I mean, it's always very confidential, so I have no idea who else were kind of auditioning. So, and then I didn't get it, but I had the feeling, I had a very strong gut feeling that I wasn't going to get it that year. But I mean, it's always been part of the dream to do TV presenting. And I totally forgot about it. I didn't get it. I totally forgot about it. And it's very interesting. I came back from London in August last year when we started filing for the visa. And I auditioned for another show for another channel. I won't say names, but I auditioned for another show. And I was kind of set on, I think I'm going to get this and it's going to be a cool foot in the door. And eventually I didn't get it. And I was super disappointed. And I thought, oh my goodness, like maybe the TV presenting thing isn't for me. And it was 2 weeks later when the producer messaged me and she's like, listen, we're auditioning again. We really liked you 2 years ago. Do you want to audition again? So no, they weren't in conversation with me for long. It was kind of just, they kind of informed me and I said, oh yes, I'd love to. For me, I mean, my profile in the South African industry or the Afrikaans industry didn't really change. I mean, I didn't play in a soapie. I'm not a singer, and it's often the kind of profile that they like. So I was still, for me, I still thought, you know what, just see it as a learning experience, grow, ask for feedback. I love asking for feedback. So after my audition, I asked for feedback and I thought, you know, maybe. So I was very, very surprised when I got it, to be honest. And the interesting feedback that I got was, because I kind of asked then and I said, well, my profile didn't change that much. So why now? And, you know, not 2 years ago. And they just said, I was very mature. I've grown as a person, my emotional intelligence, my maturity really stood out to them. And I think also for me, the underlying confidence came with the fact that I studied life coaching for 2 years. So I did my certificate and my diploma. And that's ultimately kind of what I'm trained to do, to ask questions, to really listen, to be interested in people. Because in my final audition, you need to interview someone, and it's not a prepared interview. It's someone given to you, and you kind of have a topic and you need to interview someone. So I think the confidence that was there around or with the life coaching was really the ultimate die nail in the coffin, but it's just that gave me the thumbs up. And then there was the long time to keep it a secret. That was very hard, because often
the time, all these posts were going around on Facebook, who's going to be the next presenter, this one and that one, and News 24 had this polls going. How was it like sitting and looking at the stuff on Facebook and sorry.
I enjoyed it. I mean, they created such a hype around it. So I wasn't complaining. I was like, oh, well, it's great. I mean, the fact that people are so excited about the show, and that something like the presenter is so important to them. And if you look at the contestants, I mean, 2 of the girls that were in the final 5 have over 20,000 followers, which is such a good sign to me, because it just shows how relevant the show is still, and how invested people are, and how interested people are. I mean, if they would post stuff about who's the new presenter and nobody replied, that would have been sad. But the fact that there was such a hype just shows how important the show is to people. And I think it's really, if we look at South African, especially Afrikaans show, I think Boerse Vrou is probably the Afrikaanse mense show, and they feel, and that's beautiful to me. Like, we get very passionate about it. So, I mean, no pressure to me being the new presenter, but I mean, I'm excited, and I'm going to make it my own.
I think last year with Boer Damien being on there, I think the audience of Boerse Vrou grew so much just by him being on there, that I think this year, or this coming season, is going to be an interesting one.
Apparently, with the latest show, and I mean, there's probably different reasons why, but there's a lot of English people starting to watch the show. And I saw a few people commenting, please, can you put English subtitles on? So I think that's a cool idea, because people, people are passionate about the show, but if they can't understand it, it's a bit tricky to watch it. So I think that could be a cool thing if we put subtitles at the bottom for English people to also follow it.
And also when the news broke, my Karen and myself were sitting in the bed in the morning, and we were reading some of the comments, and there's so many people that said, who's this Marciel girl who's the presenter? It's as if they didn't know about you. It's like you were this nobody coming out of nowhere to win this kind of thing. So that was quite cool.
That was, I mean, I sat with the PR people, because they're brilliant. There's brilliant people behind all the PR of this. And I knew that was one of the kind of biggest points of critique. We knew that coming in, because of the fact, like I said, that I'm not an Afrikaans singer, and I'm not a soapy star. It all depends on people's exposure. So if you're not someone that's following models or watch Miss South Africa, you might have completely missed me. But that's also part of the excitement, that I am a new face. So it's a new opportunity for me. But all in all, I mean, I also read, so I didn't read all of it. I think it was a bit overwhelming at that point. I mean, people were still excited, and they were still hopeful, and there were a lot of people kind of correcting people who didn't know who I was. So it was wonderful to me. Like, I just sat back and went, okay, cool, you figure it out. And it's always like that. People love the presenter that's on for those 2 years. But there's always critique with a new one. Every single time there's a new presenter, people are upset about it, and it should have been the previous one, because we don't like change. We like it to stay the same. So they warned me. They always said the last one was the best one, and then after the first season, they hopefully will like me as well. And then when the next one comes up, they're going to be upset about that as well. So it's part of the cycle to keep it interesting.
Yeah, and I want to join on to that is back when Minky was appointed the presenter, everybody was just like, oh, it's this blonde model She's probably a dumb blonde, doesn't know, and she was fantastic at her job.
It's amazing.
There's a stigma around models being, what do you, what's the good word in saying it? Dumb.
Yeah.
And it's 90% of the time it's not true. So you're a very clever girl. And also, okay, before I get to my question is now, any of the other people who was in the running or named in these polls, have you heard about any of them? Were they upset? Were they not upset? Skinner losing
No,
the great.
I mean, Skulk, I mean, I think Skulk decided it had a strong support system behind him. And he just made this video, but it was obviously a general video because he didn't know it was going to be the presenter about die nuwe gesiggie, baie geluk aan die nuwe gesiggie. But no, I mean, people were really very happy for me, and so many industry people sent me messages to congratulate me, and it was a wonderful surprise. So the day after I was announced, they organized 3 of the previous presenters to have breakfast with me in Johannesburg. So Leah and Minky was obviously Cape Town based, and they were so lovely and so supportive, and they were also happy for me, and it means so much if people believe in you, going, like, you're going to be great and we're here for you. So no, I didn't get any negative comments from industry people.
Okay, now let's get to the negative comments thing. How do you handle negative comments on posts, on stuff you do, the articles you write, inboxes you get? Because I'm pretty sure you'll get a lot of weird people sending you inboxes on Instagram and Facebook. So how do you handle it, and what advice have you got in handling those kind of things? Because I personally think a lot of people look at a negative comment, there will be 500 positive ones, one negative one, they will get stuck on that, and that will break the whole day going forward.
So a week before the announcement, my dad sent me a message and said he wants to have lunch with me because he wants to have, I'm going to say it in Afrikaans, a vaderlike gesprek. He wants to have a vaderlike gesprek with me. And I knew, ooh, now it's coming. So we went for lunch, and he said, my child, you have a lot of wonderful qualities, and you bubbly, and you this and you that. But one thing that's now a negative thing is that I don't deal with critique very well. And I laughed and I said, it's true, but I think a lot of people can relate to say that we don't deal with critique well when it comes from our parents. Those are like the people that you always want to impress, and you always want them to be proud of you. So when critique comes from them, it's really hard. But I kind of think I was over prepared for negative critique with Boerlike Vrou. And it's often like that. We stress about things not happen, and then it never actually happens. So in terms of negative, comments, I always say, there's this wonderful quote: if you won't take advice from someone, why would you take their critique to heart? So, I mean, with Boerlike Vrou, it was all just opinions. There was nothing I could do about it. I'll first have to go on TV to really change someone's opinion. And if I don't, it's not my problem. It was so wonderful for me to be in New York. What?
The money's in the bank, so you don't need to change it. Yeah.
And that's the thing, Dewald. People are going to love you. Some people are going to love you, and some people are not going to like you no matter what you do, what you say. They're just not going to like you, and that's fine. But being in New York just gave me such a good, just a fresh perspective. It's such a big city, and it's so busy. And you realize, why would one person's negative comment bother me? Like, what does it even matter what Tannie Karin from, Koekenhoop thinks about my hair? Like, it's honestly not important. I mean, I think if you get, opbouwende critique, like uplifting critique, I think there is space to learn from it. If someone says, you constantly say this word, or you make this sound with your mouth that's irritating, I think those are things you could work on. But what people think about what I'm wearing, what my hair looks like, people freaked out on a Bravo interview because I said Meghan Markle's my role model. And I just thought, you know what, screw that. She's my role model. She will always be. It's fine if you don't like her. I'm going to stick to my truth because I do really find her inspirational. So, I mean, I've been dealing with the social media thing for 5 years. And there was a lot of critique, obviously, after Miss South Africa, during Miss South Africa. So I think, I mean, it sometimes is upsetting still and it does hurt, but then you just get over it. Like, just flick it off the shoulder and go on. The fact that people are talking about you and have so many opinions kind of says that you're doing something right because you are clearly relevant to them.
Yes. And it's also, social media has given the people a platform to talk about shit, to be honest. They will find
now. People have too much time.
Yeah, they will find something to bitch and moan about. And I always joke, and I said, if you want to quickly gauge the level of IQ of the general population, you must go and read the comments on News 24's posts, because you will very quickly see how the general population is out there. And it's because there's a screen in front of them or a phone in their hand, type it, and nobody will see what Tannie Karina from Koekenaap looks like. If Tannie Karina from Koekenaap stands in front of you, I promise you she's going to say, "Jene, my kind, jou hare is mooi."
Yeah. And the sad thing is we often comment when it's negative. I don't know why. There's interesting psychology behind it, but I mean, the moment if something's wrong or we don't like it, then people speak up. But when it's good and they do like it, they often don't say anything. Then it's just okay, whatever. So it's often when there's something to attack that people love to comment. But it's freedom of speech. Everyone has an opinion, and now there's enough platforms for people to have opinions. So that's okay. Like I've interestingly enough, I've seen, because I write for the Student of Media once a month, and there's also a lot of people obviously often commenting on these articles. And I've seen someone like Bosch has personally replied to every comment and kind of like started conversations with people, which I think sometimes it catches people off guard because they don't think you're going to reply. They're like, oh goodness, this person has actually read the comment. I don't really engage. If I really feel, something, like somebody's asking me a question, I will reply. But, negative comments, it's an opinion. I leave it there. I don't have the energy to kind of start a debate with every person having something to say.
But also you've been around long enough, like you say, 5 years, is that you've grown a thick skin for this. Negative comment now versus a negative comment in 2015 had a completely different effect on you, probably. I would expect.
Yes, and Dewald, it's an interesting thing. I mean, we all have good and bad days. So on a good, busy day when I'm on a shoot and, I'm preparing for the next one, you often don't even see some of the comments. And then you have 2 or 3 days where you're a bit of in a dip and you're not working and you're kind of having a little, am I doing the right thing with my life? Because all freelancers have that very often. And then, a very innocent comment can actually get to you. So it all depends on in what mind spaces you kind of are in, and that's okay. Sometimes a comment's going to hurt, and it's okay. Like, be sad about it and deal with it in your way. Go gym to get it out of the system. Talk to someone, and then the next day it's fine again. So, I mean, yes, I do have a thick skin, but I'm not going to say that I'm completely immune against bad comments. It can always hurt. It's just do not let it derail you.
Okay, then we've just gone over an hour, so I think we should. I can carry on the whole day. I've got no problem doing that. But what kind of advice would you give to girls and guys that want to get into the modeling sphere and get into this kind of industry, especially schoolgirls? Because you've been with me with the Mr. and Mrs. Worcester Gymnasium judging. There's a lot of those girls that think they want to be a model one day, even though that you probably know that they won't, they're not tall enough or any of those kind of things. But what kind of advice would you give to somebody that could possibly have a career in this industry?
Sure. The thing is, with a lot of girls in high school still, let's take the example of Worcester. You must realize you're quite far away from Cape Town where everything's happening. So you must also be realistic in terms of, is there infrastructure or a support system, a mom or a dad that can actually take you to castings? Because there's no point in signing with a modeling agency when you're 16, but you never have the capacity to actually go to castings, because then mom pays 5,000 Rand for your test shoot that you're in any way going to have to reshoot in 2 years' time when you can actually go to casting. So in school, make sure that you are actually able to go to castings. But most of the time I would say, like, start when you're done with high school. Have fun in high school. Don't worry too much about modeling. And then after school, you can start. My advice would be to always be on top of trends, to see what's going on, because often girls do tests and it's not on par with what's kind of wanted at the moment in terms of how a test should look like. I mean, modeling is so far removed from pageants. It's minimal makeup, super simplistic hair. That's very trendy at the moment, like the no makeup look. So to do research, ask questions. I've learned so much throughout my life by sending people that I don't even know a message asking, can I take you out for a coffee? Send other models messages, ask for their advice. Just be as informed as you possibly can be. And then also, I often get moms coming to talk to me after my motivational speaking events, and they say, Sunny needs to do modeling because, you know, like, she has issues with her self-esteem and this is going to be like a confidence boost for her. And I always say, no, that is the worst thing you can do for your daughter. So if you want to do modeling, like, you really need to have a rock solid self-esteem, because I am telling you, someone like me that kind of, I mean, I think I stand for confidence and good self-esteem. Even my boat is often rocked. So it's not an easy industry. It's not a feel-good industry, that I can promise people. So just know who you are. That's my best advice. Do a lot of research and know who you are.
I had a mom ask me to do a shoot for her daughter to make like a little portfolio. And she said to me, she's got a good following on social media. I think like 10 or 15,000 followers.
Sure.
High school, well, she's first year studying now. So she said to me that there's already brands coming to her on Instagram saying that they wanted to be like a brand ambassador and give her clothes and all sorts of stuff. And should she carry on doing that kind of stuff for an income, like become an Instagram type of model, influencer type thing, or go to the traditional way to a modeling agency and get work that way? So I said to her, well, if she becomes, well, this is my opinion, if she becomes an influencer, which is a crappy word in any way, she can choose who she wants to work with. If she goes the traditional way, and if a brand casts you that you don't like, for instance, like you said, you might not like to wear glasses, but sorry, girl, that's your job today. And another thing she said to me, one of these brands approached her, and she sent me the link, and I went to look, and it was a Christian clothing company. So I replied and I said, listen, if you're going to do this, you must see who you're going to be an ambassador for. So if you are a Christian clothing company, now you're the face of this brand, and you're out tonight in New Bar and you have a couple of shooters and you dance on the counter and people take pictures of you, you're not going to be the kerkdochtertjie anymore. And then that's going to be more damaging to you as an influencer or self-brand than what it is in any other way. So they also need to be very careful. And I think a lot of the girls, the high school girls, has got good followings that getting these requests from brands to be influencers. They don't know these kind of things. That they need to be and who they are an ambassador for.
I think, just quickly to answer on that, what my thoughts, I think you can be both. I mean, you can be with a modeling agency and do some of your own social media collaboration. So you don't have to necessarily split it. The thing I just want to say about social media collaborations or being an influencer, I've said no to so many things that's been offered to me, and there's often money involved, because the one thing that I just want to say is that it needs to be authentic. You need to believe in this brand that you're selling. I mean, how is it? I would feel so bad if I'm trying to sell something or advertising something that I don't even like or I don't believe in. So that's the only thing. Like, if you want to do the Christian clothing, great, but really believe in that and then live the brand to the best van jou vermoë. Because so often there's so many influencers, like every single post is something they're selling. Also, people are going to stop believing you and they're going to stop trusting you because they know this is just for money. Like this, hierdie copy is amazing and then this is amazing and that, like, really, like, rather work with a small amount of brands, but people that you really, really believe in, because that's when people will buy into it.
Yes, for sure, for sure. Okay, but Marciel, I think we've had a good chat. Is there anything you want to chat about still or mention or?
No, it was great. I feel super energized. The extrovert in me loved the connection. So thank you for inviting me, Dewald. I appreciate it.
It's been fantastic, and yeah, we'll chat again. And I can't wait for Boersukervrou to start. I think it's going to be completely new breath of fresh air in the
first brunette ever.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, dankie Dewald.
So much, baie dankie. Die groete vir Andre en ja, laat weet ons as jy in Woester verbykom, ek wil drinkie weer koffie.
Dis reg. Dankie.
Okay.
Bye. Bye. Hoe eindig hierso? Leave. Where is leave? Wait, daar.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Marciel. That has been amazing as always. Yeah, I'm going to be converting this to a podcast later on and should be up soon. And I'm busy working on the one I did with Jay yesterday, so that will be out a bit later today. So thanks, guys. Tune in again for tomorrow. I've got another interesting one coming up. All right. Cheerio. Bye.